Namaste, healthy lifestyle family members. In this video, we will learn more about insulin resistance. You are introduced about what is insulin resistance in the previous video, and now we are going to actually discuss more about it. This is our skeleton system. Every bone in our body should have a connective tissue, and that tissue is called muscle. And we can actually raise our hands. I can move. I can do any activities because my muscle is supporting this bone and the muscle has the energy to actually move these bones. When I'm doing this, actually, it's my muscle that I'm actually using. Here it is how the muscular system is. If every bone is actually winded up with all the muscles. So every muscle needs energy. So we have to eat to provide energy to these muscle cells. And how do we do that? We take carbohydrates, we take fat, we take protein, we take minerals, vitamins, and all that stuff that we eat. And when we eat, it goes through the stomach. Once it is digested, it actually some portion will be in the liver, and then rest everything will be moved to these muscle cells. And if you see the details here, the liver weighs around 1.2 to 1.5 kgs, of which a maximum 10% of fat can be stored in the liver. Rest everything has to go through either to the muscle cells or else to the fat cells. And liver stores 100 to 120 grams of glucose, and if it has more than that, it actually sends all that glucose to the muscle cells. And muscle cells can also store up to 300 grams or a little more grams of fat. Now we understand that we need energy and the muscle cells need energy. And let's assume this is a muscle cell, and this muscle cell needs glucose. Glucose is the typical energy source which our muscle uses in order to run. That's why whenever you don't eat anything, your glucose levels will be down and you will feel dizzy and you won't be able to work more. You won't have energy to lift a lot of weight. You won't be able to exercise. So all this because you don't have a lot of stores in the muscle cells. Of course, there is also energy source from the ketones, which we'll talk in a different video. But this focus is more about the muscle cells and what actually insulin resistance is. And so whatever that we eat, it has to go through this muscle cell. Let's assume this is a glucose molecule. So we ate a lot of food and glucose molecule. So this energy has to go into this muscle cell, but it won't because the cell doesn't recognize this muscle cell doesn't recognize this glucose molecule, and it won't actually open up to actually enter the glucose. So to make it pass through, the body has to secrete insulin. Pancreas secrete insulin. So depending on how the amount of glucose that we ate, I mean the carbohydrates that we eat will be converted to the glycogen. So with respect to the amount of glycogen or glucose that we have, our pancreas secrete that much insulin. So insulin is this molecule when it actually comes into our bloodstream. So everything is in the bloodstream now. So we ate, everything is digested, everything is in the bloodstream, and now with insulin, the glucose molecule comes here and then asks for a permission. Now, let me enter. I want to actually go into your nuclei. Now, after checking this insulin molecule, there will be a lot of enzymes within the muscular cell which will actually recognize, and then it will open up. And then it will actually enter the glucose. So that's how actually our muscle cell will work. Now we eat a lot of food. We have glucose and we have uh, the insulin from the pancreas in our bloodstream. Now, in the bloodstream, actually, it is trying to enter the muscle cell, but it's not opening up. Why? Because just like in the image there, this whole muscle cell has a lot of intramyocellular lipid. So lipid means fat. So if this muscle cell is all with fat, it won't have that chemical mechanism within it which will actually open up the muscle cell in order for the new glucose molecule to enter. So what it does, it couldn't open. It's like actually having a thin film. So if you have a thin film on your eyes, you won't be able to see. So in the same way, if we have that the fat layer inside the muscle cell, it won't have any activity, and it will be tough for the actually the muscle cell to open up for the glucose molecule to enter. So with time, what happens? We have insulin and we have glucose, and they're all actually circulating in your bloodstream, and it's not actually going into your muscles. So you are not getting enough energy, but at the same time you are eating, and this glucose molecule is actually in the bloodstream. So this is called the whatever that you test through your blood. So this is the glucose molecules which couldn't actually enter the muscle cell is actually is what is giving you that reading of 140, 150, 200, 250. So these are all the glucose molecules which couldn't actually pass through this muscle cell. Now, what our body does, now it tries. Now we have a lot of glucose molecules in the bloodstream. The pancreas will secrete more insulin because it want to actually try to help our body. What is helping? Helping is glucose molecule enters the muscle cell. Now in order to help, it will create more and more insulin. So more and more insulin is actually secreted, and then it is trying, but it will be still hard to actually go through. So this happened for years. So you don't get diabetes on 1 day or 2 days of actually eating any bad stuff. If you got diabetes today, the pre-diabetes stage, so all that the bad things and intramyocellular lipid is accumulated in your muscle cell for years, and then now you got to feel that okay, you don't have the energy, and in your urine actually the glucose is passing. Why? Obviously your body has to get out of the glucose some way or another. So it goes through our bloodstream, it couldn't go into the muscle cell, and then later on our kidney will filter and then it will excrete through the urine. So that's why the glucose is also in the urine. So you can also test your glucose from the urine test as well. Okay, now it is very simple, right? Why we develop diabetes, but and it is nothing new. This is happening from maybe 100 or 120 years. And we have research. I've already showed a research from 1936 in the last video. But even now, the Diabetes Association, so it is getting millions of dollars of funding. And what are they doing? They are trying to develop technology in order to help the diabetes patients. How? By creating more drugs, by creating more services, by creating new devices, by creating more medical equipment. But do we need that? No, we don't need. All we have to do is we have to remove the intramyocellular lipid. So what is it? What is it? It is the fat. All we have to do is open up the muscle cell, remove the fat, and then you're done. You don't have the diabetes. So it doesn't happen in 1 day. It is a slow progress. So all we have to do is we have to get rid of the fat from the muscle cell. But do we need the research, millions of dollars of research for this? No. And do you need to actually take medication throughout your lifetime for this? No. But what is happening? Yeah, they need money, and then obviously you are one of the sources to get money for their companies to flourish. So that is what is happening. Now the next thing is how to actually get rid of that fat from your muscle cell. So we are going to discuss that in the next video. But in the meantime, I want to actually give you some tips about what you have to do every time I make a video. And in this video, I'm going to share these links. I'm going to actually share these link in the YouTube description, video description. And these are some of the foods that we should avoid when you have diabetes, or you feel that you might be in the pre-diabetes stage. You should actually stop eating meat, stop eating egg, and you have to take more plant-based foods, which we'll discuss more in the next videos. But you can actually go through these publications. These are all researches, and we have more and more research coming in, which we'll discuss in the further videos. So until that time, so try to actually reduce your alcohol or meat intake or even egg intake as much as you possibly do. Have a healthy life. Thank you.